Hey Samford fans, welcome into another edition of the Samford Sports Wrap-Up presented by Meld Financial. I'm John McAfee, happy to be joined by Samford men's basketball head coach Scott Padgett. And Coach, it's been a good start to the conference season for you guys for sure, 2-1. You did lose a heartbreaker to Wofford, but a game where you guys did play really well. Defensively, you played really well. Just came up a little bit short in the final minutes, but what did you see out of that game, and what have you seen out of your team really from the beginning of the season until now, improvement-wise?
Well, I think one thing's definitely glaring to me is our defense since Christmas has been a lot better. Our intensity has been a lot better. I think sometimes you lose a game and you get something out of it. And I think we went in, when we went to Hawaii, we hadn't really been pressing much, and you got down in that game and wanted to change some things up, so we started pressing and had a good little stretch at the end of that game to where it was like, all right, let's look at this more. And then we played Alabama in the second half, basically pressed the whole time and made a good run against them. And Georgetown played without Robert, but had some good moments early in that game with our press. So we've been pressing a lot more in league play. And last night we pressed about 30-35 minutes of the game. We've turned that full court press into a better half court defense as well. So I think it's night and day if you look at where we were the last three games of non-conference to the first three. We were giving up 90-something points a game in the last three, and we're giving up right at 70 in the first three games in conference. And we've played in two of the teams that are the top offensive teams in the league, in Citadel and Wofford, and held both of them under 70. So we've done some good things. We've got to shore some things up offensively. I thought, against Wofford, we had about probably 3 or 4 turnovers that I felt like were totally unnecessary, and you shore those up and you get 4 more possessions. That's probably a huge difference in that game. If you score on 1 of the 4, it's a big deal. And then I thought we settled a little early in the clock for some threes. It's one thing when you're out there and you're hot and you're on fire to take a couple extra, but I felt like we settled for some semi-challenge threes early in the clock that maybe we could have worked a little more. I thought we had a decent size advantage. Worked a little harder, maybe get the ball inside a little more. If you'd have told me going into the end that the possessions that we had at the end were the possessions, those were the shots we got, with the guys taking them, I would have felt good about it. And sometimes the shot doesn't go, but our defense kept us in a game where we weren't playing our best offense. And if we keep that defensive intensity up, if we keep crashing the backboard, if we keep getting, we have 15 offensive rebounds, those are things that give you opportunities to win games even when you're not playing your best offensively.
I want to ask you about Josh Sharkey and what he's been able to do this year. He's leading the country in assists per game and steals per game right now, also one of the top scorers in the league. And I know you ask a lot out of him. He plays a lot of minutes. How has he been able to elevate his game even further this season?
He's just one of the fastest guys in college basketball, first of all, and he's got really good vision. I would say really the only knock you have on Shark is I think he thinks he can make every play, and sometimes he goes for the home run. But if you look at how much the ball is in his hand, even though he probably has a few more turnovers than you'd like to have, with the ball and playmaking is in his hand more than probably any player in the country. So I think when you look at it, I think it's somewhere around 40 to 41 points a game that he's accounting for between scoring and assists. I don't think there's a number like that out there anywhere else in the country. So you don't want to pull the reins in on somebody like that. He pushes our team and makes everybody better. And I think, everybody's seen the offensive side and they've seen the steals, but I think one of the things he's got better at is just positioning. And I felt like he gambled a lot more in the past. You've had a lot of times where like he gets into the guy and lets him go by and tries to smack by, and if he doesn't get that, then it's 5-on-4. You haven't seen a lot of those this year. Like he stole the ball when a guy tries to cross him up on the ball, but he's been in really good positioning, so he's in the right place to get that, steal from slapping down on the ball or from rotating in the right place. And I think that's why he's went from getting 2 steals a game to almost 4 a game, because he's getting more of those position steals than he was ever getting before. Probably the same amount on ball, those kind of things. But I think he's really shored up the part where he's just not gambling as much. He's keeping his man in front of him, putting less pressure on our defense behind him, and I would say in league play, that's a huge reason why our defenses went up.
We've talked about it on the show a couple of times, but in the SoCon last year and again this year, there really are no nights off. Every team's playing at a pretty high level. It seems like every game across the league really coming down to the last couple of minutes. Your next one is at Chattanooga this weekend. Just give us a little preview about what you expect to see from the Mocs.
Well, I mean, they've got a good balance between some guys who got experience last year, that are coming back, and then they've added some transfers that got eligible right away. Wish we could have got some eligible right away, but funny how that works. But it's one of those things. I think they're solid, 8 or 9 guys rotation. They've got a good big in Vila. They've got a really good guard who's been there and kind of learned the ropes and gotten better every year in Baptiste. And then they've added a grad transfer in Matt Ryan, who's played at both Notre Dame and Vanderbilt, started some at Vanderbilt, that are, those are their solid, top, those are the guys who get it going for them. But then they've got a group of 4 or 5 guys who, on a given night, one of them gets double figures, but they all know their role and do their jobs. And really, really solid defensive team. And it's always tough to win on the road in the SoCon, and Chattanooga's no different there.
Coach, always appreciate your time. Good luck this weekend.
All right, thanks a lot for having me.
Samford head coach Scott Padgett. Stay tuned. We've still got an interview with point guard Josh Sharkey coming up next. Welcome back to the Samford Sports Wrap-Up presented by Meld Financial. I'm joined now by senior point guard Josh Sharkey. Josh, appreciate you being here. And
thanks for having me.
We'll talk a little bit just about the team and where you're at right now. You're 2-1 in SoCon, lost a heartbreaker to Wofford, a really entertaining game. You guys just come up a little bit short, but we've seen some improvement certainly in the team from the beginning of the season till now. What do you see in this team and where you guys are at, and improvement-wise, what have you seen from the beginning of the season until now?
I think we're heading in the right direction right now. I think now as conference play has started, where our attention to detail is higher. Our defensive intensity is higher. I think we're more locked in, and SoCon's a tough league. So like you said, we had a heartbreaker last night against Wofford, but we're going to have games like that almost every game. So I think we got to just put that one behind us and focus on the chat Saturday.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it seems like there really are no nights off in this league. Every game's going to come down to the last couple of minutes. What are some areas for the team that you think you still need to improve upon to kind of be there at the end of the year?
I think we need to do a better job of starting games better. I think a lot of the times we put ourselves in a hole, and then we see ourselves trying to fight back in the second half or late first half. So I think just starting the game off better.
Talk a little bit about the season you're having. It's been pretty incredible so far. You're leading the nation in assists per game, leading the nation in steals per game, second in the SoCon in scoring right now at almost 19 points per game. Talk a little bit about what that means to you to have some of these personal accolades you've had this year.
It means a lot to me. I take a lot of pride in creating for my teammates, trying to get my teammates open looks. So I give all credit to them and to my coaches. My teammates are the ones making the shots. I'm just doing the passing, but they're the ones making the shots. So we have a lot of good shooters: Brandon Austin, DeAndre Hunter, Rob, JD. So I have a lot of faith and trust with them. We put a lot of time in, behind the scenes. So I give all the credit to them.
SoCon Player of the Month as well. I got to make sure I mention that. And do you feel like maybe you've even leveled up your game a little bit as you've hit SoCon play? If you look at your stats in the first couple of games, I mean, the Citadel game you played 39 minutes, 27 points. VMI, you played all 40 minutes, you had 25 points. Do you feel like you've elevated your game a little bit in conference play?
I think I have. I think it's my job to do that. This being my last go around, I want to do anything I can to help this team succeed. And right now, I have the hot hand, and hopefully I can keep it that way.
Josh, really appreciate your time. Best of luck the rest of the season.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Special thanks to Scott Padgett and Josh Sharkey for joining me on this edition of the Samford Sports Wrap-Up. See you next week.